Hi, I'm Frank Cohen, and this is the Reflections project. I wanted to give you a quick overview of what it's all about and how you could use it, and how it could be part of a project that you might want to work on to develop your own creation. The Reflections project got started when I transferred the videos that I took of my kids as they were growing up to digital format. And then I thought, okay, I wouldn't mind wearing something on my wrist that has those videos. But I took a look at the Apple iWatch and I thought, the style of this thing isn't really right for me. And I took a look at the Samsung and the other Android watches, and I thought the same thing. The styling of the case and the way that you interact with it just didn't seem to work with me. I really don't like the idea of a smart watch where you have apps running on the watch. As a matter of fact, I don't even like the idea of a smartphone where you have apps running on that phone. I'll give you an example. When I go to Disneyland today, what I see is that just about everybody has their smartphone on them and they're looking at the Disney Parks app and they're like, trying to use that app. And what they're kind of not noticing around them is the $1 billion that the Disney company's Imagineers have designed into the park. All of that beautiful theming and experience goes down into them staring at their hands. Well, at least the mobile phone in their hands. And I thought, no, that's not the right way to go. So in terms of creating something that would play my kids' videotapes, I wanted to be able to have the device kind of understand what my intentions are and be able to act on those intentions. So for example, the device that I would wear wouldn't have buttons, it wouldn't have a touch screen, it would basically be able to understand by my movements, by my location, what I might want to see displayed in terms of videos and be able to do that for me, sometimes automatically. So with that kind of spirit in mind, I developed the Reflections project. And then I showed it to a design partner of mine, Terry Harden. She's a Disney Imagineer, one of the original Muppeteers, an amazing actress, and really, when you get down to it, she's a storyteller. And so I thought, okay, well, I showed her the concept, and she said, I have a project in mind. So while I'm not here today to announce what that project is, Terry's project will be the first implementation or the first commercial product built around the Reflections platform. And the way that this will work is that the Reflections project, all of the code and the technology, the hardware and the software, the backend servers and stuff, that will be hosted on GitHub. And then the commercial product that Terry wants to develop around a really entertaining experience, that will be offered through our website called starlingwatch.com. And Terry and I have already had the experience of working on one project. It was a set of pocket watches that had a time travel storytelling kind of really great experience in a steampunk themed pocket watch. And we made those about 6 years ago as a limited edition and collectible. Of course, we made 1,000 of these pocket watches and we sold all 1,000 of them. So they're no longer available. But the Reflections project that Terry has in mind will be offered through the Starling Watch Company, and we'll make an announcement at some point to announce it. So you can imagine that if I was to build something that would be able to play movies with sound and have a technology that would understand my intentions throughout the day, then I would need some sort of base of technology to work from. And so let me introduce you to this. This is the Reflections board. It's a small 34 millimeter round board that's covered with components on both sides. This is an ESP32 processor-based board, and so the ESP32, it's really a great processor. It has DualCore, it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, it has a whole bunch of memory. and a whole bunch of general purpose I/O pins, or GPIOs. And so what I did was to start with the ESP32 and to enhance it by adding a whole bunch of sensors. So on this board, for example, is a sensor for an accelerometer. It basically knows if I'm moving the board forward or back, up or down. It works in all of the different axes. There's also a compass on here. There's a GPS module on here, so it knows where in the world it is. It knows where it's pointed and where it's heading. There's also a temperature sensor in here, so it knows if it's hot or cold. And then there's the components to allow me to play the videos. So I have a NAND on here. A NAND component is basically a memory storage module. It uses the same technology as, say, an SD card that you might plug into, say, your mobile phone. Except that this comes in a surface mount package, and so there's no like card to slide in and out. It's always on the board. And this board has 128 megabytes of storage on it. That's plenty to be able to store video, even hours of video. There's also an audio amplifier on here and a tiny little speaker, and then a haptic motor, so that as you're interacting with the experience, the haptic motor can buzz at you to like indicate progress towards some goal that you might have using it. I also wanted to add an interesting sensor that I found, which is called a time-of-flight sensor. The time-of-flight sensor is here on this part of the board, and basically it's sending up 64 laser beams. These lasers are infrared, so you can't see them with your regular eyes, but those lasers shoot up in an 8x8 matrix, and then the sensor is able to see the reflections of those lasers and be able to tell me what the distance is between the board and whatever object is above the board. So since it has all of these lasers, I'm able to take a look at, say, a hand and be able to discern that this is the thumb and here are the fingers. And as a matter of fact, if I make different signs, like this is a B in American Sign Language, this is a C, and now I have my board here, I can hold my hand over it, and the lasers are able to pick up that this is an A distinct from B, distinct from C. So not only am I able to make gestures by, like, say, sweeping movements, but also I'm able to, say, take my finger and then stroke like left and right, indicating, I'm not interested in what you're doing. So that kind of interactivity is possible without me having to learn a touchscreen system and without the need for apps. There's no apps in this device. There's also a USB connector here, so it's able to get power through the USB and recharge a rechargeable lithium-ion battery. And then on the top of it is a 240 by 240 round display, which I've been able to get as much as 15 frames per second, which is enough to, like, watch Star Wars. I've even watched Star Wars on this thing. So the board itself is now in its, like, 6th iteration. We basically keep on finding, like, small things that we have to fix or improve. And so the GitHub repository for the Reflections project has all of the different versions of the board, and that's where we post the most recent one. And yes, you're able to, like, download it. It's licensed under a GPL version 3 license, and so there's no cost to you to use the technology. And we'll even introduce you to the board manufacturer who's able to produce these boards. And these are, like, really inexpensive too. So that's the Reflections board. What you're not seeing here is all of the software work that went into this. So we have a Wi-Fi driven logger that's able to log what's happening on the board through Wi-Fi to a backend server and then display those results either on a laptop or a computer or even on your mobile phone. We also have a way of sending the telemetry from the different sensors up to the cloud for analysis there. So if you wanted to do analysis that wasn't appropriate for a little small device like this, but needed, say, a big database or a graph database, then that's also part of the Reflections project. We even have a way of capturing video from, say, YouTube or anything else that's visible on your desktop into a 240 by 240 matrix, and then downloading it onto the NAND, that storage unit on the Reflections board, and then playing the video and the audio at the same time, synchronized. So if you take a look at the rest of the GitHub repository, you'll find software, hardware, the hardware definitions, everything that you would need to take this hardware to a board manufacturer and have them produce your own. And we'll probably manufacture some overage or extra boards and make those available for sale too, just to cover some of the cost. So I hope that this inspires you to take a look at the Reflections project, eventually look and see what Terry and I come up with on the Starling Watch project, and get a sense of what could be accomplished when you move past smart apps and touch screens and that kind of thing, and into experiences that interact with you, that anticipate what your goals are, that really understand what your motivation is in interacting with a smart interactive experience like this. If you have any questions, you're able to post them to the GitHub repository as a question or an issue. I monitor that thing all the time, and I'm happy to respond to you. And of course, you can reach out to me directly. My contact information is about to come up. Okay, well, on behalf of the Reflections project team, I'd like to thank you for your kind attention in this briefing. And please let me know what you think. Thank you very much.